Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily series from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments of the live feed. If you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. During this live session, we will be running a poll, so please do engage with it, and I will reveal the results at the end. Now, to celebrate National Payroll Week, QuickBooks are offering 75% off QuickBooks Online and Payroll for 4 months. Make sure you follow the link in the comments to find out more. Make sure you do that. Check that out. My name is Ketan Makwana. I am the CEO and Chief Disruptor at Enterprise Lab, a global or international agency that focuses on talent innovation and business innovation to help people grow, to build better businesses, to serve better economies. Today, we are here to talk about how to future-proof your business. Now, we know that the pandemic has come and gone to a certain extent, but what have we really learned about our businesses? What's happened to our businesses? Do we really understand what we would do if another pandemic of this kind of magnitude or anything else, any kind of disaster would come along and impact our livelihoods and business and continuation the way it is? So today, I really wanted to talk to you all about what you need to do to future-proof your business. And there are a couple of things that I've really practiced myself, and this is the only reason why I'm telling you these kind of four kind of core principles. But essentially, this kind of takes me back to around about February 2020. So as I was boarding a flight back from Thailand to the UK after doing some business over there, obviously news was coming through about the pandemic and about coronavirus and all this kind of stuff. I knew that we were going to have some form of impact at some point, because the UK is a hub for people to actually travel through. So on that plane journey back, I started to really think about what I need to put into place to protect my business and to make sure that we can continue to work through what would become one of the most unprecedented or uncertain times for any business owner out there. So there were a couple of things that I started to actually work upon. And, apart from changing the strategies and creating the communications, which I've spoken about in previous episodes of Ask the Expert, I really started to work across these four core principles that I'm going to share with you today. And these are what are my go-tos for when it comes to actually looking at how you future-proof your business. But before I tell you these, why would you want to future-proof your business? Why is it important? Because it's important because at the end of the day, producing this kind of future-proofing will mean that you have consistency irrespective of the climate and environment that you have around you. And it's important. Only this morning, I was just talking to the team on the back end, Susie and Teo, and I was just saying to them that, I just posted this whole thing that you can't open new doors with old keys. And what I mean by that is that if we keep doing things the same, if we don't learn from our mistakes and we don't learn from our successes, you're not going to be able to open new doors. And if you can't open new doors, you can't get new results. So future-proofing your business is all about that very thing. It's all about casting new results and making sure that you're sustained through a period of uncertainty. So here they go. Just follow me with this on these kind of four core principles. The first thing that I want to say to you, the first core principle that I live by in everything, in all the businesses that I have and everything that I do. So Enterprise Lab isn't just my only show at the rodeo, basically. I've got several other ventures that I'm involved in, I'm an investor, etc. The first principle or core principle that I have is that success is never planned, it's engineered. And what I mean by that is you have to engineer the success. You don't actually plan for it. A lot of people these days actually are even going away from business planning itself. Planning actually just sets you up for a certain thing. It kind of gives you this whole expectation that the climate's going to be like this, the eventuality is going to be like this. Whereas when you engineer something, you actually know intricately the and intimately everything that's going on in and out of the actual exercise, activity, or business. So I would ask you to perhaps look at maybe 6 months into the future. I'll start asking yourself particular questions. Say, where do I want my business to be in 6 months? What kind of revenue do I want to be attaining? What kind of team do I want? What type of business, what type of clients, what kind of customers? Ask these kind of questions up front from that point forward, and then start to work backwards to where you are today. And there will be a series of things that you won't really have answers or questions for. Answers for, not questions for. And with that, what happens is that kind of tells you that if you were planning to try and achieve whatever it is that you wanted to achieve, rather than engineering it, anywhere where you don't really have an answer for a question, that would have been a pivot, or it could have been a pothole that would misdirect you. So in this kind of situation, I would put into the situation that what if something like coronavirus or lockdowns came back again? What if in 6 months' time we're all going back into lockdown? I want you to answer questions. What is it you do? How would you adapt and adopt your approach to the market? All of these kind of things. Because what happens is that as you start to reverse engineer back to where you are today, you then have an effective plan which kind of almost sets itself out in a way that people will you'll be able to say, well, I was expecting that to happen, and now I have a response for it. Now I know exactly what I've got to do. So future-proofing, principle 1 around success is never planned, it's engineered, is all about actually knowing scientifically, understanding and answering all the kind of questions that could potentially rear their heads. What you're doing is not answering them to produce the perfect plan. You're answering those questions to have contingency. So if something happens unexpectedly, you know where you have to go with things. So that's principle number 1. Principle number 2 is business continuation. So you may have heard of this term before. It's used largely in corporations rather than kind of small companies. But I think the practice of business continuation is very, very important, no matter how big or small you are. A lot of large organizations and firms weren't prepared for the pandemic. They weren't prepared for anything like this. And their business continuation policies didn't have anything in there that would support what would happen if you had this type of these type of events. A lot of the work that we've been doing at Enterprise Lab with our corporate clients over the last period since lockdowns has been around business continuation. And what is business continuation? Really simple. It's what do I need to do, or what needs to be in place to allow my business to continue, irrespective of the environment, the climate, the competition, etc. So it's a glorified risk mitigation system. Ask a risk question, produce a mitigating answer. So if I was to lose all my online clients, what will I do? So the whole thing about this is it's like a fire drill. You know, if you work in an office or if you're a school or whatever it is, there's always those fire drills that go on, or the fire test goes on once a week on a Thursday or whatever it is. What is it doing? It's actually getting you into this kind of practice that if there is a disaster, you are automatically working or you're autonomous to actually what you've got to do to get yourself out into safety. It's the very same thing with business continuation. Risk mitigation and business continuation are two things which are like constant fire drills that you're assessing through your business. Should anything change in the environment around your business, you can go into an automated mode, which will allow you to actually continue with your business. The third principle that I have is all about innovation, letting innovation into your business. Now, you may think, well, look, it's just me. I'm a solopreneur, or there's only 2 or 3 of us. Why would I need to innovate? Innovation is all about doing things differently, to evoke new results. I told you a little bit earlier here, you can't open new doors with old keys. So if there are certain things that you're doing and doing well and you're succeeding with that, that's great in the company. That's really, really good. But I want you to not sit there and give yourselves a high five, basically, that things are, going so well. Understand what is making you successful in that, and you need to amplify it. You need to continue scaling. You can say, well, look, if we can do well with 10 people, let's see how we can do it with 15. Can we adopt the same system for 20, 40, 60, etc.? At the same time, understand where the gaps are. And that's where innovation comes in. There is something missing, which is why you're hitting failure points. And failure is obviously the distance between your expectations and your delivery. So essentially what I'm saying here is innovate in the areas that will help you improve your results and learn what's making you successful. And that, my friends, will make sure that you continuously drive with open innovation into your businesses. And the last one that I want to talk about is team. There is no I in team, and there is no expectation that you are, as the sole business owner, the only person who could be responsible for all the different activities, but you shouldn't be accountable for all of them. The top line of things is you need to be able to outsource. You're going to be able to resource. So things like QuickBooks, for example, is a brilliant example. Outsourcing all your financing, your invoicing, your follow-ups, your books, your taxing, everything goes into that. It takes the load off. So whilst you are responsible for the financial flow of what's going on in your business, QuickBooks becomes the accountability piece that comes into place. Now, what that does is it takes a lot of pressure off, and it allows you to future-proof and focus on the areas where you need to put your brilliance into. So 4 real quick, simple tips. First, reverse engineer. Remember, success is never planned, it's always engineered. I always live by that mantra. Everything that I do that I succeed in, I've engineered it to that point. Secondly, look at business continuation. Start to really understand the things that are happening around you, and create that risk mitigation that will make sure that if things were to happen, what would you do? And create that as a fire drill into your business. The third thing is really looking at innovation, bringing in new things to help you solve old problems. And those problems are really the gaps in the between the expectation and the delivery that you have in your failures. And the fourth thing is make sure that you're bringing others, resources, and outsourcing into your team to make sure that you're actually moving forward. One cannot do this alone. So hopefully those kind of tips have been really, really helpful for you. If you want any, if you've got any other questions, put them up onto the Q&A, which I'm going to go into right now. And don't forget, also, you can contact me on Twitter at Ketan_Makwana on the DM. So let's get into these questions. Wow, a load of them straight into that. So that's brilliant. So I got Jay on Twitter DM saying, I own a cleaning company and barely survived the lockdown when most of my clients dropped off. How can I avoid this in the future? Well, you're asking a real practical question. How do you avoid it? You've got to start, and this is the whole thing around engineering. Jay, it's a kind of question any business owner in any services industry can ask. How do I, and what is it that you're trying to achieve here? It's truly avoiding client drop-off. So understand that clients will come and go. So there are a couple of things you need to think about. Do I create a pool of clients which are kind of hovering there, ready for me to actually work with, should my existing client roster not being able to, no longer be there? So it's a little bit like how you have a staff turnaround. You almost have a client turnaround system. The other side of things you need to kind of think of is you've got to also think of situations where for your clients and the situations that they're put into during these types of events. So you said you barely survived during the lockdown. Why did clients drop off? Now, is it because we were in lockdowns? Is it because you couldn't do any physical cleaning? Or is it the fact that actually what you were providing as a cleaning service wasn't relevant to them at that moment in time? Maybe the cleaning service needed to change to desanitization, kind of creating this whole area where you're actually keeping clean areas that allow people to go back into the offices and stuff like that. So I would kind of advise you to think about how your clients flow and turn around in your organization, and also think about the services that you offer during these kind of periods. So another real real life example of this is Brewdog, the brewery. They're known for brewing their IPAs, etc. But during the pandemic and lockdown, they stopped production in some of their facilities for the IPA, and they actually started to produce hand sanitizers and gels and things like this. So what they did is they maintained the integrity of the facility that they have, but they changed the product that they were providing, and that allows them to create business continuation. So just a couple of tips there. Claire, I've lost some of my top employees and recently had to let someone else go. The team I do have left are struggling with the workload and been losing a lot of pitches as a result. I feel like I'm drowning in the moment. How can I motivate my team when I'm struggling so much myself? It's a really tough one. And there is two things I want to start off with here, motivation and inspiration. Motivation is very much around centered around belief. So as a mentor myself, when I motivate people, I motivate them because I believe in their abilities to do something. Inspiration is based on capability. So when you're inspired to do something, it's your inner belief that you're capable of being able to achieve. I think what happens here, Claire, is this is the standard example of what happens with trickle-down leadership. So as a leader of the team and a leader of the business, if you start to show wobbles and weakness, it will start to eke and crack into the motivation and inspiration that your teams will have. So I want you to take a couple of steps back first, breathe, okay? Be human about what you're doing here. Understand that things have changed, but change is not just bad, it's also good. Change also brings opportunity. Look at what you can do. Look at all the things that are in your control. Look at the things that you do best and focus in on those. Understand that if the whole business model has to change, where you're going to now have to adopt and adapt and work alongside your teams when it comes to pitches, that's what you're going to have to do. At the end of the day, you're a business owner. You're going to have to roll up your sleeves and understand this last bit. And it's great information that I've heard a dear friend, Gary Vaynerchuk, talk about in the past. And that is that you are going to have to double down more than your employees. And you're going to work harder, and never expect your employee to actually be harder worker than you are. Just accept that, in this kind of thing, but trust in them, show them that trust, show them that belief. And what you'll see is they'll carry you through these kind of periods. I've had the same situations internally where I've in the past where we made structural changes, we've done all sorts of different things which have had a negative impact, maybe on for a period of time with the business coming in, or us being able to maintain the size of the team that we've had. And the first thing that goes is morale. After morale goes motivation. After motivation goes inspiration. These things are kind of an ascending domino effect that you have. So what I have to do is I have to be present. I have to be active. I have to stand up and say, look, I'm here ready to roll my sleeves up and work with you guys to achieve these results. So pay more attention to your guys and pay more attention to the things that you can do. Don't worry about what you're losing. Think about what you can be gaining. And remember, for all of the things where your capability is, there is also going to be a capacity issue. So the more capacity you're building, the more opportunity you have for new people to come into your business. And that's not just employees, but that could be clients as well. Well done with that. Morgan on Facebook Messenger. Technology has never been my strong suite. So I want to hire someone to manage all of the IT for my company. I know I should use a recruiter as I have no idea what experience to look for, but they're very expensive. Do you have any advice? Okay. It can be, recruitment consultants out there, they'll probably charge you a flat 20% fee to place, and they'll want, it'll come out in sort of 33%. So they want a bit of that money up front, etc. I think what's important for you here is two things. First of all, don't look for a full-time hire. Number one, look for an interim hire. The reason I say that to you is you can put them on contract. It means it's easier for you to actually get rid of them if things aren't working. And the other side to the things are, it could be a little bit more expensive for you. in having the contract hire there because of their day rates compared to the salary. But what you do is you put them onto a 3, 6, or 9 month contract with a view to then make them more permanent. It also allows you to kind of understand what type of individuals you want. So it's kind of like learning as you go along. The truth of things are, if you're writing your specification out, just put it in simple English. What is it that you're looking for? What is it that you need taken care of? And then start to go off onto other platforms. There are so many freelancer platforms right now where you can get people on interim contracts, especially for things like IT. IT, you don't really need someone in a physical office with you. They can be remote anywhere here. But it's the other side to this that I've got to be mindful of, Morgan, is that is the trust. It's the ability for you to let go of certain activities, not micromanage in particular ways. So 3 things that I would suggest you do: restructure your initial offering to be on a contract and interim basis to start with. Build a specification on the things that you need fixed, sorted, or managed. Base your interview process on how people respond to those things that you've put in your specification. When you make your hire, you set out the KPIs for the next 3 to 6 months to what you want your techie to achieve for you. At the end of 6 months, you then review it, understand if it's working, look to then put them into a permanent role. If it's not working, look to renegotiate maybe their retainers, maybe the next 3 months of contracting, readjust your KPIs. So do it piece by piece, and you'll probably find the right people. So you can go anything from Fiverr.com right the way across to Freelancer. There are loads of of these interim sites where you can push on from there. If you do decide to go down the line of having a recruiter come in and work with you, even on the interim positions, remember what they'll do is they'll charge 20% of the day rates that you will set out for that interim position. So if you charged £100 a day, for example, they'll take 20% of that. So they'll take £20 and they'll give the person they find you £80 for the life of it. Plus, beware when you do move from interim to permanent hire, they'll probably want to charge you a 20% fee for that as well. So just watch that in mind. Rajveer on Instagram: how do we include the situation with COVID when doing risk assessments and trying to mitigate it? Well, Rajveer, the simplest way to answer that question for you is how did COVID impact you this time around? Look at everything that it impacted. These are all the questions. So, time at work, customs, your financial flows, everything that has that the COVID created an impact on, positive or negative, are questions that you need to come back into your business. So, ask yourself a situation again that if we were restricted from going into the office again, what's the mitigation policy? If we were to have a drop in our standard customer, what is the mitigation policy? If we were unable to collect payments from our creditors or debtors, in that respect, what's the policy? All of a sudden, everything that you experienced as a business owner during the pandemic should be questions that you're asking yourself today, because this may not come back as COVID-19, but you will have another kind of event of this magnitude come up again in another way, shape, or form, whether it's influenza, whether it's climate change, whether it's, whatever there is another impact coming. It's just going to be guised in a different way. It's just that what happened with COVID took everyone by surprise. And what we've got to do is learn from that. And what we've got to learn is how we, what impact it had on us, how we managed that impact, and how we actually revived ourselves from that impact. All of those things should be in your risk mitigation. Declan on Twitter DM: I had to take some personal time off recently and realized that nobody in the business could step up into the position for a longer time if needed. What should I do? I want to get this resolved ASAP. Declan, this is a really important one. At the end of the day, this is the whole typical thing that if you were stuck on a desert island for 6 months and you couldn't touch your business, what would happen to it? 99% of the time, most people will say over a period of time it will fail or close or die. So the first thing I want you to do is don't look at things disappointedly and say no one could step up. It could be the fact that actually what you've done is you've created such a big vacuum, in such big shoes. Sometimes it's better if you have to step away from your business to actually chop up the responsibilities that you have as a leader into smaller chunks and segments and divest that into different people into the organization. So rather than having one deputy that or a vice that's coming up, you actually scatter the responsibility in different areas. So that's one way of looking at it. The second thing is then looking at the structure of how you are now developing the people in your organization as you're going along. Because if you're not developing people and they're just sitting there doing a remedial task, this is what's going to happen. Every time you need to step away, next time you want to take a 2-week holiday, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be so needed because you are at the center of everything. So it's all about this is all about how do you divest responsibility, delegating accountability, and then producing this kind of reporting system that you can see where things are actually happening and not happening. At the same time, if this is an urgent requirement, I would lean into the fact that you need to probably get an interim CEO into your business or a managing director. Again, a little bit like what I was saying to Morgan, you may need to reach out and say, look, I'm looking for someone to come in, caretake my business for the next 6 months. I need to go through that kind of process. So they're the only two things that I can really say to you at this moment in time. One is maybe look to chop up the responsibility and accountabilities that you have as your daily grind, and actually outsource that into different people in the team. So what you're doing is you're not putting too much pressure on them on the point of step up, but then produce a system where they report into you so you can still have this kind of dashboard where you can see where things are wrong. Even if you have to move away from your business, there are always going to be touch points that you have to have. This also gives you a clear indication that you haven't really engaged enough touch points and development within your organization of the people that you have there. Right. Okay. We're running fast out of time. I think about 4 minutes left, basically. I'm going to take one more question and then we're going to go to poll. Una says here, I'm all for having goals and making action plans to get them, but we can't always reverse engineer success. How do we make our goals achievable? Yes, you can always reverse engineer your success. It's that very mindset which is going to stop you from going. The fact that you believe that there is possibility that you can't, you can. Everything can be done in this particular way, because reverse engineering is not about finding the perfect plan. It's a plan. It's about understanding the questions that the potholes and the pivots that you're going to find in your journey. Now, if you build your journey from back to front, and what I mean by that is you go to the future and you work back to where you are today, you can find out the different permutations of things that could happen. Okay, which means that when you're moving forward in time, you actually have an expectation that, okay, if A happens, we will do B. If C happens, we will do D. If E happens, we'll do F. It's more assured. I'm not guaranteeing you, I'm assuring you. And that's what reverse engineering is all about. Achieving your goals is based not on planning, it's about understanding what the goal is, where you are from it, what you need around you and from within you to achieve that goal, and working back to where you are today here. There is part of this that goes on in sports as well. People visualize the victory, and then they work back to where they are. So they understand the different training regimes, techniques, and strategies that they need to adopt into place. It's very important that you have this built into your mindset. So Una, look, I understand it. It's sometimes a little bit hard to fathom. Give it a go. Go in, and if you want more information, reach out to me on Twitter or whichever medium basically that you can find it through, and I'll send you some information on how you can actually reverse engineer your goals and your targets and your business itself. Right. Fast running out of time. The poll results are in. We did ask you the question, do you have a contingency plan for business emergencies? 20% of you said yes, 70% of you said no, 10% of you said sort of. 20% of you says yes, brilliant, well done. However, don't get complacent. It's just like a fire drill. You've got to keep looking at it. It's not a policy that you put in place and then you just sit and relax and say it's there. Keep looking at it. Everything changes around you. If the financial climate changes around you, what impact is it going to have? Think, for example, by April 2022, 1.25% increase in national insurance contributions. Is that going to have an impact in the way that you pay your people, your bottom lines, all of these kind of things? Just think about these kind of things. Everything that changes should allow you to come back and look at your business emergency plan. So have a review of it every sort of 3 to 6 months. I'm not asking you to change it completely, but make sure you're making sure everything in there is relevant. For those of you who don't, what are you doing? Get one sorted. If you don't understand what you're doing in here, it's a business emergency. Think about it like if you owned a building and if the building was on fire, you have to get everyone out. It's building a plan for when something happens. So ask all the risk questions and think about all the mitigations. That's all it is. Think about, if this happens, what do I do? If that happens, what do I do? If this goes wrong, what do we do? That's all you're building in, and make sure that that's engaged and trained into everyone in the organization. So it's not just a leadership thing. It's something that's accountable to everyone in the company. Obviously, certain things will, certain levels of employees won't be party to, but the fact of this is, there's no point having a risk mitigation policy or a business continuation policy, and only 1/3 of the total population of that organization knows what that is and how it works. Because if they are wiped out for any reason, just a bit like what was going on earlier with Declan, you're going to have a situation where you're going to create there'll be chaos more than anything else. So look, I've really enjoyed this topic. Future-proofing your business is something that's really important to me. I really love this kind of topic and stuff like this. I hope you really found value in the 4 core principles that I shared with you. Thank you for all of the questions that you've sent in and tuning in. If you have anything else, as I say, feel free to tweet me on Twitter at Ketan_Makwana. But coming up on Ask the Expert on Monday is Aaron Patrick. He's an accountant and QuickBooks Pro advisor. So it's Accounting Mondays, basically. Great. Tune in, get advice on accounting, the latest features and tools that will be making your bookkeeping even easier. So make sure if finance is one of the things that you guys have challenges with, make sure you're tuning in for that one. And then don't forget that there's that reminder that if you need any more advice on the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group for Facebook, accountants and business experts are online. And finally, the National Payroll Week. It's National Payroll Week. So you get 75% off, come on, it's crazy, off QuickBooks Online and Payroll for 4 months. Make sure you check that out. The link are in the comments. I've really enjoyed answering your questions today. Thank you for joining me on today's session. Have a great day, brilliant weekend, and I'll see you guys again soon.